You were walking out of Jungkook's cabin, a small smile on your lips, despite the fact that Jungkook had been his usual cold, distant self, even though his words were always curt and emotionless. The fact that he spoke to you at all felt like some kind of achievement. As you walked down the hallway, scrolling through your phone, you were still thinking about the brief exchange. Suddenly, you felt something pull at your leg. You stumbled forward, nearly falling but managing to grab the edge of a nearby table just in time. Heart racing, you turned your head to see who had done it. It was Sophia, of course. Sophia stood there with her arms crossed and a smart smile playing on her lips. She had always been jealous of you. Jungkook, cold as he was, still spoke to you. While she had always been ignored, no matter how hard she tried to get his attention, she failed. What is your problem, Sophia? You straightened up, brushing off the incident, your tone calm but irritated. Sophia's smile grew wider as she stepped closer, looking you up and down with disdain. Oh, no problem at all. Just thought I would remind you not to get too comfortable around Jungkook. We all know he doesn't care about you any more than he does anyone else. You narrowed your eyes at her, knowing her words were more about her own frustration than anything else. I don't need to get comfortable, Sophia. It's called professionalism. Maybe try that instead of whatever this is. You gestured toward your leg, making it clear you knew she had tripped you on purpose. Sophia's smudged expression faltered for a moment before she crossed her arms tighter, her voice dripping with venom. Please, like you're not just waiting for him to thaw you out and notice you. We all saw how you run to him every time he calls. You let out a frustrated sigh, tired of the childish game. I'm not running to anyone, Sophia. Jungkook is cold to everyone, including me. Maybe if you spent less time trying to sabotage people and more time doing your job, you would get somewhere with him. Sophia's eyes flashed with anger, but she couldn't find a good comeback. She just huffed and stormed off, leaving you standing there, feeling a mix of frustration and relief. After 3 hours, you were leaning against the wall, casually talking on your phone when you heard a familiar voice calling your name. Wine, her voice was cheerful, but there was a hint of urgency. You quickly glanced over your shoulder, recognizing her voice, but finished your conversation first. Okay, I will talk to you later. Bye. You hung up, turning to Olivia with a warm smile. Olivia, what's up? How can I help you? You spoke kindly, but Olivia's smile had a nervous edge to it. She stepped closer, lowering her voice as if she didn't want others to hear. Wine, your skirt is stained. I think you're on your period. Your eyes widened in surprise, and a flush of embarrassment crossed your face. Instinctively, you pressed your back against the wall, trying to hide the stain. You felt your heart race with panic. Oh no, you murmured, your face now slightly flushed with embarrassment. Olivia, noticing your reaction, gave you a reassuring smile, placing a comforting hand on your arm. Hey, don't worry about it. I have got an extra skirt. Just wait here for a minute, okay? It's really no big deal. You nodded gratefully, your shoulders relaxing a bit as you felt some of the tension ease. In just a couple of minutes, Olivia returned holding a clean skirt in one hand and her blazer in the other. Her face was full of kindness and understanding. Here, take this skirt and use my blazer to cover up until you change. He handed them over with a warm smile. He felt a wave of relief wash over you. Thank you so much, Olivia. You are a lifesaver. You smiled gratefully, quickly dropping the blazer behind you to hide the stain. You stood outside Jungkook's office, nervously gathering yourself before knocking. The cramps were making it hard to concentrate, but the thought of asking Jungkook for a half-day leave made your heart race. With a shaky breath, you knocked gently. His cold voice answered from inside. Come in. You stepped inside and saw him standing by the large glass window, speaking on the phone, his gaze fixed on the city below. His back was straight and his tone was as sharp as always. You waited anxiously as he continued his conversation. I expect the report by tomorrow morning. He ended the call abruptly, turning towards his desk with a stoic expression. His cold eyes met yours, making you hesitate for a moment. He slowly walked up to his desk, your palms sweating as you tried to figure out the right words. His sharp gaze lingered on your pale face, making you even more anxious. What is it? His tone was flat, direct, with no hint of concern. You swallowed hard, trying to ignore the discomfort in your stomach. Sir, I'm not feeling well today. Your voice was shaky, but you pressed on, knowing you had to explain. Jungkook raised an eyebrow, his gaze growing more impatient. And he folded his arms across his chest, waiting for you to continue. You took a deep breath. I am not feeling good, so I was hoping I could take a half day leave, please. His eyes narrowed slightly, and you braced yourself for rejection. A half day? His voice was icy, as if the request inconvenienced him. Yes, sir, but I have already handed over my work to Olivia. She will finish everything on my behalf, so nothing will be left incomplete. You rushed to explain, hoping it would ease his displeasure. He studied you for a long. Is that so? His tone didn't soften at all, but he seemed to consider your words. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he gave you a small note. Fine, but I expect no delays. If anything is left unfinished, it will be on you. Relief washed over you, but his words were a stark reminder that he wasn't someone to cross. Thank you, sir. I promise everything will be handled. Chungo gave a brief, dismissive note before turning back toward the window, his attention already shifting away from you. You quickly exited his office, feeling a mixture of relief and lingering tension from the cold encounter. After taking a half day leave due to the discomfort from period cramps, you finally made your way home feeling drained. Once point of view, I walked through the front door, feeling a wave of relief wash over me as I left the outside world behind. My body was heavy, the cramps making each step feel more tiring than usual. I dropped my bag near the entrance and sighed deeply. The house was quiet, just how I needed it to be. You kicked off your shoes, wincing slightly as another cramp hit. The warmth of your home was comforting, but you still felt a dull ache deep inside. Making your way to the living room, you sank onto the couch, pulling a blanket over yourself. Your mind drifted to the day, Olivia's kindness, and now the exhaustion setting in. I just need a little rest. Maybe some tea will help. I thought to myself, feeling the weight of the day. With a groan, you slowly got back up. Heading to the kitchen, you boiled some water and made yourself a cup of tea, hoping the warmth would soothe the cramps. Holding the mug in your hands, you leaned against the counter, closing your eyes for a moment. One's point of view, at least I'm home now. No more awkward moments, no more rushing around, just peace. You took a sip of your tea, the warmth spreading through your body. After a few moments of standing there, you headed back to the couch, curling up with your tea in hand. You could finally rest. Maybe I will just close my eyes for a bit. I was finally starting to relax, the weight of the day pressing down on me. But just as I let out a breath and closed my eyes, my phone started buzzing. A sigh escaped from my lips as I glanced at the screen. It was Olivia. I hesitated for a moment, then picked up the call. Hey, Olivia. Olivia's voice came through cheerful as always. Hey, just wanted to let you know I finished up your work. Everything is done and sent over, so no need to worry. Relief washed over me, a small smile tugging at my lips despite the dull ache in my stomach. Thank you so much, Olivia. You are a lifesaver. I really mean it, and I hoped she could hear the gratitude in my voice. Olivia, no problem at all. Just rest up, okay? I promised her I would, but once I hung up, I realized rest was not coming as easily as I hoped. The cramps were relentless, the pain twisting in my abdomen and making it impossible to get comfortable. I shifted under the blanket, hoping to find some position that would ease the discomfort, but nothing helped. My mind kept wandering back to the office to the awkward encounter with Jungkook and the lingering ache in my body. Finally, it's a relief that Olivia finished my work. I let out a small breath of relief, knowing everything at the office was handled. But the moment I relaxed, another wave of pain shot through my stomach. The cramps were unbearable. I winced, clutching my abdomen as the pain intensified. With no other choice, I raced over to the nightstand and grabbed some painkillers, popping a couple into my mouth and swallowing them down with water. I lay back on the couch, hoping the medicine would kick in soon. After a few long minutes, the pain finally started to dull and my body relaxed a little. Exhausted from the discomfort and stress of the day, my eyelids felt heavier. Maybe now I can sleep. I closed my eyes, and before I knew it, the tiredness overtook me. I drifted off into a much needed sleep, hoping the cramps wouldn't return when I woke up. As the soft rays of morning sunlight streamed through the curtains, I slowly stirred awake, blinking against the brightness. I stretched out on the couch, the remnants of cramp still lingering, but much more manageable than the night before. What time is it? I glanced at my phone and groaned. It was already past 8. I had to get moving if I wanted to make it up to the office on time. I pushed myself off the couch, rubbing my eyes and yawning. The faint ache in my stomach was a reminder of the rough night, but I was determined to push through. Okay, first things first, get some coffee. I shuffled into the kitchen, still feeling a bit groggy. As the coffee brewed, I opened the cabinet to grab my favorite mug. Just a little pick me up, and I will be good as new. Once the coffee was ready, I poured a steaming cup and took a deep sip, letting the warmth spread through me. Ah, that's better. I took a moment to enjoy the taste before moving on to the next part of my morning routine. I quickly washed my face and brushed my teeth, looking at my reflection in the mirror. You can do this wine, just a long day ahead, and you will be fine. With that, I changed into a fresh outfit, opting for something comfortable yet professional. As I slipped on a pair of flares, I couldn't help but think about the day ahead. I hope Jungkook doesn't give me a hard time. Just focus on your work and stay under the radar. After grabbing my bag and checking my phone for any messages, I made my way to the door, taking one last sip of coffee. All right, let's do this. With determination, I stepped outside, ready to face whatever the day had in store for me. As I stepped into the office building, the familiar hum of chatter and the clatter of keyboards greeted me. I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of determination and anxiety. I navigated through the sea of desks until I reached my own, ready to settle in and tackle the day's tasks. Just as I was about to sit down, Sophia appeared out of nowhere, her trademark smirk plastered across her face. She leaned casually against the edge of my desk, her eyes glinting with mischief. Well, well, look who is finally here. Sir Jungkook is calling for you in his office. Best of luck. Her voice dripped with sarcasm, and I couldn't help but feel a knot of tension form in my stomach. I had half expected her to try and make my morning miserable, and here she was, delivering her little jab. Thanks, Sophia, I'll manage. I tried to keep my tone steady, but her presence made my nerves flare. I quickly glanced around the office, noticing a few curious looks from my coworkers. They had clearly overheard her comment. Sophia laughed softly, clearing, enjoying the attention. Just don't take too long in there. I wouldn't want you to miss out on your previous time with him. Rolling my eyes at her remark, I grabbed my notepad and headed toward Jungkook's office, my heart racing. I couldn't let Sophia get to me, even if her words stung. Just stay calm. It's just a conversation about work. You have got this. Taking a deep breath, I knocked on the door before stepping inside. Ready to face whatever Jungkook had in store for me, I knocked lightly on Jungkook's office door, feeling a mix of apprehension and determination. When I stepped inside, I was met with the sight of Jungkook sitting at his sleek desk, his expression as cold and unreadable as ever. The city skyline loomed behind him through the large glass window, casting a serious shadow over the room. Did you enjoy the party yesterday? His tone was casual, but there was a sharpness to it that made my stomach drop. I blinked in confusion, trying to process his words. Party? I wasn't there. I hesitated, my mind racing. What party was he talking about? I had been at home, dealing with cramps and resting. Jungkook leans back in his chair, crossing his arms with a skeptical look on his face. Really? Because I heard you were having a great time. You should have told me if you wanted to take the day off for it. I could feel the heat rising to my cheeks. I had to clarify, but the way he was looking at me made me anxious. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. No, sir, I promise I was home. I wouldn't lie about something like that. He raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. The silence in the room was thick, and I could see the wheels turning in his mind. If you were not at the party, then why do I hear otherwise? You must have had someone cover for you. His gaze was piercing, and I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach. He was clearly skeptical of my explanation. I really didn't, I just needed some rest. Chung sighed, leaning forward as if he was weighing my words carefully. Well, if you're too busy enjoying parties, you can take on extra work to make up for it. I need that report on my desk by the end of the day. My heart sank at his words. He was punishing me for something I had not even done. But, sir, Jungkook, no excuses, just get it done. Feeling frustrated and misunderstood, I nodded, forcing a smile to mask my disappointment. It wasn't worth arguing with him. Understood, sir. The day had been tough, but when I finally got approval for a half day leave due to my cramps, I felt a bit of relief. However, as I left the office early, Sophia had overheard my conversation with Jungkook. A devious smile crept across her face as she hatched a plan. Perfect. This is my chance. Before wine arrived the next morning, Sophia made her way to Jungkook's office. She knocked confidently, and Jungkook, sitting at his desk, gave her a cold, questioning look as she entered. Good morning, sir. I just thought you should know something. It seems Wine wasn't being entirely honest with you yesterday. Jungkook looked up, clearly irritated by the interruption. What are you talking about? Sophia smirked, pulling out her phone and showing him a series of old party pictures of Wine from months ago. I heard she told you she was resting, but I have a reliable source who said she was at a party last night. See? Here are some pictures of her from a similar one. Jungkook's eyes narrowed as he stared at the photos. His face darkened with disbelief, and Sophia, satisfied with his reaction, took a step back. So she lied to me. His voice was cold, and his decision was made. It is disappointing, really. I just thought you should know. She left the office, her smirk wider than ever. That evening, I found myself back at the office, hunched over my desk, to finish the pile of extra work that Jungkook had thrown at me. Everyone else had left hours ago, and the office was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning. The strain of the day combined with my exhaustion was starting to take its toll. Why is he being so hard on me? I sighed, rubbing my temples as I continued to type. The room felt heavier as the hours dragged on, but I didn't dare leave the work unfinished. Just as I was about to finish the last of it, I heard footsteps. Jungkook was passing by my cabin, and his sharp eyes noticed the light still on. He stepped in, surprised to see me still working so late. Why are you still here? Is your work not finished? His cold voice startled me. I quickly stood up out of respect, my head spinning from how tired I was. I'm almost done, sir. Before I could say anything else, a sudden wave of dizziness hit me. My vision blurred, and before I knew it, my knees buckled. I was fainting, and everything went black. Jungkook, realizing what was happening, reacted swiftly. He rushed forward and caught me in his arms just before I hit the floor. His usual cold expression flickered with concern as he gently picked me up, cradling with me in his arms without a second thought. He carried me to his office and laid me on the couch. Wine? He sprinkled some water on my face, trying to wake me up. Slowly, I stirred, my eyes fluttering open as I regained consciousness. Sir, I mumbled weakly, confused by the sight of Jungkook hovering over me. The memory of fainting rushed back, and I tried to sit up, but he gently stopped me. Stay still, you fainted. His voice, while still cold, had a hint of concern. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I was embarrassed and exhausted, but he didn't seem angry, just distant and slightly more serious than usual. You should have told me you were not feeling well. Overworking yourself isn't going to help. He stood up, his usual detached expression returning as he crossed his arms. I didn't want to leave the work unfinished. It's not worth your health. I turned to leave, trying to suppress the annoyance building inside me. This was going to be a long day. As I lay on the couch in Jungkook's office, still recovering from the fainting spell, I noticed his expression shift. There was a tension in the air, and I could sense that something was weighing on his mind. Suddenly, Jungkook reached into his desk drawer and pulled out his phone. Without a word, he handed it to me, showing an image on the screen. My heart sank as I recognized the picture. It was one of my old party photos. You lied to me. That's why I gave you so much work as punishment. You went to a party instead of resting, didn't you? His voice was cold and the accusation cut through me. I looked up at him, completely taken aback. Lied? My mind raced as I struggled to understand how he could believe this. No, sir, I didn't. This picture is not from last night. I was at home, really unwell. I had painful cramps. My voice wavered, but I tried to keep calm. I had to explain before things spiraled further. Jungkook's eyes narrowed as he listened, still unconvinced. If you don't believe me, you can ask Olivia. She was the one who helped me cover my work yesterday while I took half the day off. But before I could finish my sentence, my words were abruptly cut off. Without warning, Jungkook stepped forward, and in an instant, his lips were on mine. The kiss was deep and unexpected, leaving me completely stunned. My mind went black, and all I could feel was the intensity of the moment. He pulled away for a few seconds, his face still close to mine. I am sorry, I should not have believed her. His voice softened, the coldness in his voice melting away. He gently cupped my face, and I could see the regrets on his face. I thought you were laying again, like the last time. His words stung, and I realized what he was referring to. There had been a time in the past when I had made an excuse to get out of work and it had backfired. But this time was different. I'm sorry for what happened last time. I shouldn't have lied then. But this time I was really unwell, sir. I swallowed hard, trying to convey how sincere I was. Jungkook sighed, the tension in his shoulders easing as he ran a hand through his hair. I should have trusted you. I let my doubts get the better of me. He looked down at me, his expression softening even more. I'm sorry for how I treated you, and there is something else. I watched him closely, unsure of what he was about to say. The next moment, his voice dropped to almost a whisper. I love your wine. His words hit me like a wave, and before I could process it, he leaned down and kissed me again, this time with more emotion and tenderness. I was stunned, my heart racing, and I kissed him back. It felt surreal. The cold CEO who I had feared for so long was confessing his feelings to me. When he finally pulled away, we were both breathless. The tension in the room completely transformed. Sir, I whispered, my mind just reeling from everything that had just happened. No more, sir, just Jungkook. He smiled slightly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. And I'm really sorry, Wine. I should never have doubted you. The room was quiet, and I could feel my heart pounding as Jungkook's words sank in. He had just confessed that he loved me, something I never expected to hear from him. For so long, I had seen him as cold, distant, and unreachable. But now, standing in front of him, I saw a different side. His hand still gently cupped my face, and the way he looked at me made my heart swell with emotions I've been trying to bury for so long. Chokuk, I whispered softly, my voice trembling slightly. He looked at me, waiting for me to speak, and I knew I had to say what had been in my heart for some time. I love you too. The words came out naturally, and once they were out, I realized how true they were. Despite the misunderstandings, the tension, and the fear I once had, my feelings for him had only grown stronger. Chunguk's eyes softened even more as he smiled, a rare, genuine smile that I had never seen before. It was enough to make my heart flutter. You have no idea how long I have been waiting to hear you say that. His voice was still gentle, and his thumb lightly brushed against my cheek. I couldn't help but smile back, feeling a rush of relief and happiness wash over me. All the stress, the misunderstandings, and the tension from earlier melted away in that moment. I thought you would never see me that way. I was always so scared of you. I admitted with a small laugh, the tension between us now feeling like a distant memory. I didn't mean to come across that way. I have always kept my distance, but now because I didn't care, it was the opposite. He stepped closer, his arms wrapping around me gently, holding me close. I was afraid of getting too close, but I can't hide it anymore. I rested my head against his chest, feeling safe in his embrace. The steady beat of his heart against mine was comforting, and I realized that all the walls between us had been come down. I'm just happy we are finally here together. I smiled up at him, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. He leaned down and kissed me again, this time softly as if sealing a promise between us. When we finally pulled away, I knew this was the beginning of something new, something that neither of us could have predicted. No more misunderstandings from now on. We talk and no more unnecessary punishments. He smirked playfully, and I couldn't help but laugh. Deal, we stood there for a while longer, simply enjoying the moment. The weight of the past finally lifted as we left his office. Walking side by side, I knew that this was only the start of our journey together. One built on trust, love, and understanding.